to show you how to roast vegetables in the oven that actually taste absolutely delicious. And I'm going to focus on non-starchy vegetables, which basically means vegetables that do not contain a lot of sugar, so they're not going to raise your blood sugar, but they're just going to give you some really nice flavor, a great addition to your meal. So I have 3 vegetables today right now that I'm going to roast for my dinner. One is Brussels sprouts. I love Brussels sprouts and I love them roasted. The other is fennel, right? So I've got a nice, actually just have half the fennel because I already used the other half. And I also have cauliflower that also has a little chunk taken off from last night's dinner. But what I'm going to start with first is the Brussels. So I always cut the little tip off because it's kind of brown. It's already been taken off, when it was taken off the stalk. And depending on the size of the Brussels sprouts, they kind of take a little while. So these ones are, I'd say medium size. They're a little on the bigger side. So I'm going to cut them into quarters so that they cook a little faster. And I'm going to put them in a bowl. Now, even though I'm using 3, and sometimes if these maybe have been sitting a little bit, I might take some of the outer leaves off. But in general, these are pretty nice Brussels sprouts. And let me just tell you a good few things about Brussels sprouts. First of all, if you're not sure if you like them, roasting is the most delicious way to eat them, in my opinion. And I do have a couple other ways I like to cook them. Sometimes I like to cut them real thin. So a couple of these, I'm just taking off some of the outer leaves. Sometimes I like to cut them real thin. I'll show you that another time, but for now, just cutting them in quarters. And Brussels sprouts are in the cruciferous family, which means they are in the family of vegetables that are extremely detoxifying for the liver, extremely also high in sulfur, which is great for the liver and detox. And one of the most important things that this family of food, which is also cauliflower and broccoli and kale and bok choy, what else? Bok choy, mustard, this whole family is able to really break down and digest our hormones, okay? That's a good thing. They help us to break down estrogens. There's a lot of estrogens that are in the environment from pesticides, from herbicides, from plastics. All of those things contribute to our total load of estrogen. And the thing about those kinds of estrogens, which are called xenoestrogens, is they're kind of dangerous. And we don't necessarily want them to build up in the body or compete with our natural hormones. So the more of these that you eat, some of these every day, you're going to keep them, you're going to help your body to detoxify all the estrogens in the body. Now that I have all of my Brussels sprouts in the bowl, and the reason I'm putting them in the bowl first is I'm going to do some seasoning with them. So I'm going to just drizzle them with a little bit of olive oil. Okay, so a couple tablespoons. I'm not going to worry so much about being, not having enough. I want them to get a nice little coating of the olive oil. Then I'm going to add my spices. Now I can be super simple and just do salt and pepper. And I'm just going to give it a nice little big healthy pinch. And I'm going to also add some pepper. Okay. Now when I add spices, it's going to help me to digest things a little bit better. Then I'm also going to add a little bit of garlic granules for flavor, okay? And I'm going to add some ground cumin, okay? So those are the spices that are today. I can choose whatever spices. So this is when it's kind of fun to just change it up each time that way. So I've got my Brussels sprouts. I'm going to add them onto my sheet pan, okay? What I did do is I used some parchment paper, and I like the ones that have just come out as one sheet at a time. It just makes cleanup easier. So if you aren't a huge cooker and you don't like to do a lot of dishes, if you put this down first, it just makes it way easier to clean up. especially when you kind of caramelize your roasted veggies. So I'm going to put my Brussels sprouts on one area of my pan. And the reason I'm keeping them separate is when I cook it, if they come out a little faster than the other vegetables, then I can pull them out first. The next thing I'm gonna do is my fennel, okay? So fennel has a stem, so I'm just gonna take that stem out. It's like a little triangle at the bottom. So you just wanna find the stem and take it out because it's kind of woody and you're not really gonna wanna eat that part. Now that I've taken that out, this is the nice thing about roasting vegetables is you don't need to worry so much about cooking them or cutting them, you know, super fine like you're dicing them. You want to cut them into nice chunks. And fennel is very hydrating, and fennel is a cooling vegetable, which what makes it really wonderful in that respect is that it is very anti-inflammatory and cooling, and it's very digestive, so it's cooling as it goes through the digestive system. So if you have inflammation in the body, fennel is your friend, and you should really eat some. Okay, so again, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna add a little olive oil, and because fennel has its own thing going on, I'm gonna not add too many spices, but I am gonna add a little fennel seed just for fun, and those will toast in the oven and probably taste really nice with the fennel root. But fennel has kind of a licoricey flavor to it, right? So again, I'm gonna add a little salt and a little pepper because, I don't know, we like pepper around here. So real simple. And again, I'm just gonna place this on my baking sheet right next to my Brussels sprouts. And boom, so now I've got two different vegetables here. And then last but not least is my all-time, well, I have a lot of favorite vegetables, but cauliflower is definitely one of them. And cauliflower is like the chameleon of vegetables. You can do so many different things with cauliflower. You can make rice with it. People are making pizza crust with it. You can have a lot of fun, and part of why that works so well is because it's really, it's dry, so it's versatile. One of the things I want to show you when I'm working with the cauliflower is what's nice to make nice little florets of the cauliflower is to just break it apart with your hands. You can totally use your knife, but you can use your hands. So even if you're cooking with maybe a little person, you can give that little person a job, and they can break it apart with their hands too. So I'm just gonna break apart my cauliflower into nice little bite-sized pizzas, and I'm gonna roast these. And I love roasted cauliflower. I probably will put a little garlic on these ones, a little garlic powder, because that sounds really good to me right now. And when I roast things in the oven, I'm gonna put it in a 425 oven. Getting it a little bit hotter is actually a really good way to get some good caramelization, so it makes it taste really good. And you just want to keep an eye on it. I'll let you know how long this takes to cook, but I usually set a timer on my phone for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then I check it, and when I go to the trouble to check it, I turn it and flip it, and then let it keep going until it gets a nice brown. You can always take a little out and taste it. And like I said, if one is done before the other, then you would simply go back and, where did I put that spoon? You would simply go back and take some of it out and then keep going. So I've got my cauliflower, and I'm just gonna again add a little salt. I love cauliflower with curry powder, but not everybody in my family loves curry as much as I do, so I'm just going with the garlic, the salt, and the pepper. I'm gonna add this right here next to it. The other little secret when you're roasting is you don't want to have them too close together. You want them to have space. If they don't have enough space, they're actually gonna steam more than they're gonna caramelize and roast. So I've got a nice amount of space on here. I didn't do a ton of vegetables, and I still have, more Brussels sprouts. I still have more cauliflower, so I could do something else with it. So as you can see, I've got all these veggies in here. I've got my oven at 425. I'm gonna pop them in, and I'm gonna check my timer in about 10 minutes, 12 minutes, give it a little stir, see where it's at, and then I'll reset the timer depending on how it looks. Okay, so it's been about 20-25 minutes. I didn't keep the best time, but you just gotta pay attention, set some timers, don't multitask too much. And here are my veggies. Now you can see, I don't know how well you can see, but they definitely are browned a little bit. And I did open the oven and toss them a few times. That's why I like to set a few timers, just to be paying attention. And they look great. They're all kind of caramelized. They're done, and now I can enjoy them with my dinner. They're an amazing side dish. And as I mentioned before, they don't have a lot of sugars in them, so they're a really great low-carb vegetable, full of vitamins, minerals, nutrients, and antioxidants, and really good for detoxification and anti-inflammatory. Now, one thing I want to just share, and I'll do another video that shows this method, but one thing that I love to do with leftovers, because they're roasted, they're caramelized, their flavor is just delicious. Now I also have some broth in the fridge. I can actually make a really simple, quick soup. I could maybe even like saute some onions and throw these vegetables in with my broth, and then I can puree it and have a nice, like, kind of creamy, brothy soup, which is something that I really love, especially if you feel like you have any dryness, or if you do have inflammation in the gut and you're not digesting things really well. It's gonna create easier access for you to access all those nutrients. But for now, I am having these roasted vegetables with my dinner, and I hope that you make them, and if you do, let me know how it goes. All right, thanks.